In the late 18th century, what is now Germany was a patchwork of micronations, most of which were well behind Great Britain in terms of developing mechanized industry. In the town of Krefeld, beside the Rhine, however, Huguenot immigrants had developed the silk industry against a background of religious tolerance under the rule of the House of Orange. Initially they wove the elaborate garments worn by the hierarchy of the church. Later they branched out into less specialized production and mechanized, taking advantage of the punch card controlled jacquard loom. Across the Rhine, in the Duchy of Berg, there was a thriving iron industry and production of yarn and linen. Johann Gottfried Brueggemann, who was a yarn merchant from Wuppertal, decided to copy the processes developed by Richard Arkwright in Cromford and set up his own cotton mill. He wanted it to be near Düsseldorf for transport and trading reasons. But he also needed it to have a fast-flowing water supply and a ready supply of labour. He chose the little town of Rattingen, which had been in decline since the 30 Years' War. Here, in 1783-4, he built his mill, with copies of Arkwright machinery. The power from the water wheel would be transmitted to the machinery by a system of gear wheels, shafts, pulleys and belts. The raw cotton, once cleaned and separated, would be passed through a carding engine to open out and align the threads. The mat or lap produced would run through a second carding engine with finer needles to finish the process. The output would be removed by a comb and passed through a shaped funnel to create a sliver. The slivers are drawn out on this frame to create more uniformity and are then wound together to restore their strength. The final process before spinning uses lantern-shaped containers to give the sliver a slight twist without breaking it. They are wound by hand onto bobbins. Water frames were arranged in pairs so that they could be operated by pulleys from a single drum. Each frame has 12 units, with 4 sets of rollers to squeeze and stretch the sliver, which is spun onto bobbins to give the finished thread. Just as the mill owners of Derbyshire, Brueggemann built not just a mill, but workers' housing and a grand house for himself. He called the new community Cromford, and even had himself painted in a similar pose to the Joseph Wright portrait of Sir Richard Arkwright. The Prince-Elector of Bavaria, Karl Theodor, who had ruled the Duchy of Berg from 1777, gave Brueggemann a monopoly on production, which helped make him rich. He was able to live in fine style in Cromford. He entertained the Elector and other princes there, and jealously guarded his industrial secrets. But these were difficult times. The French Revolution, followed by the rise of Napoleon, meant that France eventually reached the opposite bank of the Rhine, and Brueggemann lost his immediate markets. Despite this, another mill and a second mansion were established at Ober-Cromford, Upper Cromford, in 1800. Brueggemann died relatively young from anthrax in 1802. His sons Johann and Jacob took over, and from 1808 until 1851 the business was run by Sophie, his enterprising daughter-in-law. During her time, the fabulous garden room of the mansion was decorated with English-style landscapes. After a long period of decline, Cromford was rediscovered and turned into a museum by the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. Replica machinery was built by the firm of William Haycock of Ashbourne in Derbyshire. Today, people come from all around the world to discover for themselves the unique Cromford in Germany.